Okay, so this is the trip that I mentioned to you, and what I'm going to do is show you basically the route I took, and the reason for this is just to show you like how crazy this hiking trip actually was, until you see it in context of scale maps. It's hard to appreciate, I think, how challenging it really actually was. So, all right, so here's Dave and Chris picking me up at the Squamish Rec Center, and as you can see, we're all bright, smiley, happy faces. And we still are at the end of it, but definitely this is just the beginning of a really tough week, tough good week. And this next is a bear, and appropriately, because we'll end up actually seeing several bears on this trip, which was kind of cool. So the next I'm going to show you is a couple of maps. So this first map is a map of Whistler, at the top of Whistler. Okay, so as you follow, what I'll do is I'm going to highlight the actual path, so you can see the red line is the path we took to go up, and the black is the path we took down. But just keep in mind, this is actually the map of Whistler from the top of Whistler. So the bottom left-hand corner shows you the main gondola drop-off on the top, where 99% of skiers stop and ski down. As you can see, it sort of jogs to the right, and then you get on another gondola that takes you to that straight red line takes you to the actual sort of like peak, where you can now do more extreme skiing. And here you can see the Cloud Raker, and from there you're basically going down to the right, down a ridge, a really rocky ridge, beautiful, but pretty much all downhill. And then as soon as you make this left turn here, you're going along a alpine ridge. We're roughly at number 5 at this point, and it starts getting pretty tiring at this point, quite honestly, because some of the pathways are narrow and rocky and slippery. Then as you keep going, you're essentially going up to number 7, point number 7, the flute. So has any points of interest per se. The map actually just stops at number 7, and for our trek, we continue for about another 4 kilometers into the Alpine, where there's fewer and fewer people. The path gets less and less, walked. Some points we, quite honestly, aren't sure exactly which path to take, because it's not necessarily very clearly marked. This is sort of like the view and vistas that you can sort of get. So here a giant Siberian wolf attacks me, and as you can see, I just use my one-handed powerful grip strength to essentially break its back, no problem. And the whole camera's running at the same time. That's just my jiu-jitsu skills. Don't believe me? Okay, well, how about this one? A bear attacked me. Of course, I choke it out, no problem, and I continue running. All right, we continue along, and as you can see here, it winds up and down several valleys, and at this point my feet are just killing me, and I am no longer in a happy mood, and just the thought of going up and down more valleys is torture to my toes and my quads. but as you can see, it's snakes, and somewhere way off in the distance is a tiny little bunker house. Sleeps 32, 38 people. Here's Dave. He's finally made it to the top. This is exactly what we felt like. Bagged, and you could just get peeled off. Here, the black line showing the path we come down, which is about 2 kilometers there. Right up to that spot would be 4 kilometers. This is really where we are at our crossroads of our destiny. Go left and we go back the path that we sort of came, which is what Chris was heavily pushing for. I'm not exactly sure why. I think she really wanted to challenge herself. Dave initially sort of said he wanted to go down the nicer, easier, not nicer, but like the sort of the easier on your feet way. But then he did mention his knees were hurting, as was Chris's, which takes a heavier toll on the downhill versus the uphill. So eventually Dave sort of chose left, our original path, but then ultimately left it up to me. And I really wasn't saying anything up to that point, but I knew what I was thinking. The only thing I was thinking was, I just want to get the hell off this mountain because I'm dying and I don't need it to be any harder than it already is. Thankfully Dave asked for my opinion, and at that point I just said, okay, well, if it's the same to you, Chris, and Chris did say it's the same, until I asked her, and then she said it was 2.5 dozen of the other. I said, okay, that sounds like the same to me, so I'll choose right then. So, and it turned out it quite possibly was the right decision, because everyone ended up seriously enjoying the walk down, because it was so beautiful, and it was cushiony on our knees because it was forest floor. There was rivers and brooks that we would walk by, and under the shade of a canopy of the forest. It was 180 degrees different from the other side, which was much more alpine. So yeah, we turned right at this point, went down this way to the Whistler village. As you can see, 11.5 kilometers. That's us going down the right. So again, I think this is the path we took all the way down here. This was all a really nice walk, hike, keep coming down. And ultimately, you're now getting to kind of where we started the hike, which is at the top of the Whistler Mountain from peak to peak gondola. We're now passing the gondola and taking sort of the back roads, and now I'm going to switch to the other map and actually show you we're actually still at the top of the Whistler Mountain, which is quite a substantial path still. So we're coming down. I believe this path, it's hard to tell because it's all covered in ice in this map, but of course for us it's not covered in ice. It's roughly around this pathway. It might be a bit more down into the valley. I'm not exactly sure, but regardless, it's approximately down there until you get back to the base of the mountain and back to the gondola. Here's some pictures of rocks, and here's a nice photograph of an alien hand, creepy alien hand, and that, my friends, is it back to where we started.